we're hanging a commercial grade type 2 wall covering. This is 35 ounce Wolf Gordon. High resistance, top quality material here. On the top of it, after it's manufactured, they spray SureGuard on it. And that's the material that prevents it from a key scratching it or something staining it. But one of the problems is that this particular product, although it's very beautiful, reflects light very much because it has a very thick profile. It has a raised texture. And in all of these little boxes, light is trapped. And in these crevices, you'll see darkness. Even here, there's no color differential here, but it appears to be a color differential because the light gets trapped at different angles and it appears dark because there's a shadow that's cast. Let's magnify that reality on the wall that you see beyond. Let me show you something. What are those light differentials about? What would you attribute it to? You would say it's the installer, because this is high quality stuff. Nothing could be wrong with this. Well, let me introduce you to the fact that on every one of these raised lines, there is an angle differential. And why is that? Because each of the manifestations of light angles that are changing on each of these lines, so you can see it, on each of these areas where you can see a difference, the angle at which each of these boxes is slightly different than they are here or here. And why is that? If you look above, you might be able to see the stud behind them and the sheetrock seam behind them. When your sheetrock is hung what's called railroad, 1, 2, 3, well, you have a seam, a vertical seam, instead of a horizontal seam if the sheetrock had been hung one on top of the other from the floor up to the ceiling. When it's hung railroad style, that is straight up and down, well, now your wall covering seams are competing with your sheetrock seams. And because on commercial projects, the angles at each of the seams is not treated the same way it is on a residential wall, the end result is that you have a raised portion of the wall every 48 inches because of the seam. Each piece of sheetrock ends at 48 inches. And then 10 inches on each side of that seam is a feathered out finishing compound. And so if you're the installer, especially if you're the installer, for those of you who are new, and you get this issue, you really may think that you scratched the wall covering with your smoother, that you somehow damaged it. This stuff, you could put fire on this for 5 seconds and it wouldn't start burning. So how is it that each of the 48 inches, every 48 inches seems to be marred? It's not marred at all. Watch this. Let me exaggerate what's going on here. You're looking at the same wall covering. As I bend this material, tell me if the color changes. I'll do it in front of me since it's easier. Tell me if the color changes in the center. Is it changing?
Más oscuro.
So you have this color right now, and now when I bend it, I'm simulating the hump in the wall against the sheetrock. That's right behind, that's against the wall covering. As the angle of each of these little boxes changes, because of the very slight variation in the depth of the wall, what you have is shadowing. And as these angles change, the light is hitting them at a different angle than their sister counterparts to the left and to the right. The resulting phenomenon is something called shading, not because of the manufacturer, but simply because of the angle at which the light is hitting the wall covering. If you're an installer, you have to know this, because they're going to blame it on none other than you. So if you can demonstrate to the owner or whomever else that it's the sheetrock seam behind the wall covering, you'll be able to defend your installation as completely professional and in accordance with the general guidelines for wall covering installation. Is there anything you can do to this to make it right? Put a set of blinds up that reduces the light that hits the wall covering on an angle. What you want in this instance is overhead lighting that, instead of hitting the wall covering from the side, highlighting the humps of the sheetrock and trapping light behind and in front of each of those humps. You want the lighting above, so that there's no light getting trapped on these vertical humps. If the sheetrock were hung long ways against the floor, you wouldn't want overhead lighting, because then the overhead lighting would show every 48 inches from the floor to the ceiling this color, this apparent or seeming color differential. Because the light is coming in at an angle 90 degrees to these linear anomalies, you're getting trapped light, which casts shadows, which makes it look like something's wrong or going on with the wall covering, when it's not. It's just part of the business. And if they put a set of blinds up with those little turning mechanisms and reduce the light that comes in on the angle, or counter it with overhead lighting, they will eliminate this problem. Let me try to prove the point to you on camera. You're looking at the same wall from a different angle. Your eyes are seeing this wall behind me at a different angle than you were seeing the same wall from a different angle when the camera was diagonally away from the wall in the other direction. But I'm going to ask the cameraman to follow me and change the angle of the camera. I want you to change the angle of the camera. Okay. Now, as we change the angle, I don't even have to point. Come with me, please. Isn't that interesting? And doesn't that prove the point? That from the opposite diagonal angle, you cannot see the issue that we saw previously in the same exact vertical area of the wallpaper from here as we did before. The best way to demonstrate this point is to take a straight edge and put it over the surface, and now you can see up close what's really going on. Take a look at the gap between the wall and my straight edge here. A wallpaper installer who's not experienced in this matter may say, well, I must have scratched or burnished the wall covering, when that's not the case. Let me prove it to you one last time. So I'll go away from the wall covering and I'll let you find the issue with the wallpaper. You can see one here and then another one right there. Let's go right down to that, okay? Okay, so here we are. Obviously you can't see it up close because it's a light issue. It's not a wallpaper issue. Let me show you this. Look at the hump that is here where the light is shining off of it, and look at the space that it creates against the wall. Now, you see the shadow under my level? Well, the same thing's happening here. This is the mountain right here. This is our issue right here. And it's casting a shadow on the wall covering this way, that way. And can't you see that it's true when you look at the space that's between my level, my straight edge, and the wall itself? Now you can see why you have a dark shadow on your wall covering. You know, the problem is this, because to the naked eye, you can't figure it out because you can't see that it's a hump. You can only see what looks like burnished wallpaper. But when you examine the situation more carefully and you investigate more thoroughly, you come to the realization that your wall has humps on it that manifests itself in shadowing. This is Spencer Colgan. Thank you for watching Spencer Colgan is Wallpaper Television on YouTube. If you have any questions about this explanation, feel free to leave me a comment. If you have an issue with your wall covering, many of you asked those questions in the comment section. I simply ask that you would send me a video of the issue and send it to Spencer Colgan at TampaBayWallpaperInstaller.com. To be fair, from another wall with the same wall covering on it. And I'm going to shut off my light. Just shut off my work light. And now I'm showing you a different wall with the same wall covering with overhead lighting. Remember, I said it would be best to put overhead lighting. And here's a window casting a little bit of light, but the sun is on that side of the building. Tell me what you see. Do you see how from here all the way over, you have no lines whatsoever? But what's right here in the center of your screen? A line that's 48 inches from a light source that's hitting it at a 90-degree angle, causing what appears to be a vertical line. But it's really not a vertical line. It's an illusion of a line. It's only light. Thanks for watching. If you like the video, click on like. Show me a picture if you can. Leave it in the comments section of this issue taking place on one of your installations. I'll see you on the next one.